What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Living Life Fast. Today you join me for my 10 favourite cars ever on Living Life Fast. And as you can see, man's wearing one of Joe's controller shift t-shirts. I pity the fuel. Quick little plug in that. Obviously man's fresh as well. Trimmed up my hair. So yeah, let's get into it. Right, so before we do start, I do want to go back to the 10 fastest cars in Living Life Fast because a few of you were making a couple of points. One car mentioned was the 750 horsepower Cozzy. Now that car nearly did make the list, but the problem is I didn't actually get to drive the car. And more than the fact I didn't drive the car, there was no 100 to 200 kilometer times to kind of back anything up. But yeah, I didn't really want to risk it. There was no facts, and on top of that I didn't drive the car, so I kind of just left that one out. Some of you were talking about the Supras, so I raced the blue Supra, which had 844 horsepower. I was chatting to someone on Instagram the other day and he was trying to say, Ricky, that weren't 844 horsepower, and Simon's Supra would have been quicker to the silver Supra. So in my opinion, when I drove the blue Supra, it felt more powerful than the Supra. Obviously a car feeling more powerful doesn't mean it's faster, but you know, you gotta bear in mind that the blue Supra was running Mickey Thompson tyres, so he had full traction. But the only problem with the blue Supra was every time he came on boost it was time to change gear, whereas Simon's Supra, I think it was a little more dialed in. It was able to rev higher, the turbo came on sooner, so I think it would be an interesting race. But you know, you saw what my M4 did to the blue Supra, so that's why it didn't come in the top 10. And yeah, like the Honda Civic, he was talking about Abs' R32. Obviously, you know, these cars, you know, they felt very fast inside the cabin, but they weren't technically the fastest cars on Living Life Fast, you know. So yeah, it was just a completely raw video, complete honesty, nothing biased. But anyway, moving on to my top 10 favourite cars on Living Life Fast, and in 10th position has to go to Diddy's Brabus Mercedes E63. So yeah, Diddy's E63 absolutely blew my mind, you know. You're talking a 70 or 80,000 pound premium over a normal E63. All of the fine details, the colour it was finished in, the wheels, what did it have? The F1 style fog light on the rear. The door pins had Brabus symbols. The kick plates had Brabus symbols in with like a pink ambient light coming out of it. You probably see me recently in DMO's E63, like I had the exact same reaction. For some reason when I get into that car, it blows my mind. It is like one of the most luxurious cars out there, and when I think of the ultimate daily, yeah, that car is definitely well up there. Also, it's the Brabus 700, so I think it ran 700 horsepower. But yeah, the handling and the way that it puts down power, obviously it's four-wheel drive, definitely comes in 10th position as my 10th favourite car on Living Life Fast. So my 9th favourite car in Living Life Fast has to go to Wheels Mark 7 Golf Club Sport GTi.
You getting stuck, I see feet in the mud. You have been caught in the flood. While the water isn't parted, we run, we put you soda, harvest is us. You have been enjoying life, sipping the syrup and a line in the way. Taking whatever you touch, the sword of the wicked is covered in blood.
So if I remember correctly, I'm sure his car was around 540 horsepower, had a manual gearbox, and to be honest, it's one of the first front wheel drive cars that got me liking the idea of a big power front wheel drive car. And I remember being in that car and trying to work out to myself how much it would cost to buy one, how much it would cost to do the mods. I really did enjoy that car, and it was because it tested me as a driver. I know there's a lot of negativity towards big power front wheel drive cars. Of course, you know, you've got to be in third or fourth gear before you can put power down. They don't always produce the fastest times. Of course, if you spend a shitload of money on any car, you can make it fast, including front wheel drive. But in general, front wheel drive cars don't produce the fastest times. You have to be third or fourth gear plus with some real sticky tyres to actually put the power down, which is why even that 700 horsepower Astra was an absolute, I didn't even include that. That car felt monstrously fast, but every car will smoke that because it can't put the power down, you know. Even when he turned it down to 600 horsepower, it's still spinning. Back to Wheels Golf, you know, manual gearbox, 540 horsepower, it's making all the right sounds. it's spinning up, the experience is exaggerated. That's what I love. I like to test my ability as a driver, you know. You've got to be smooth when putting power down, even in a straight line. You've got to be smooth whilst cornering. It reminds me of rear-wheel drive cars. You will know that I love rear-wheel drive cars. I love the fact that, you know, you've got to be patient with the throttle, because if you're not, the back's going to come out and you're going to spin out and crash. And I like to have that fear factor whilst I'm driving. Of course, you don't quite get the same thing with front-wheel drive cars, but, you know, it's very easy to crash a big power front wheel drive car. You can easily run off the road, like understeer and crash. I remember being in it and really sitting there thinking, fuck, I want this car. Like, it's easily my 9th favourite car on the channel. And to be fair, it wasn't actually that bad at putting power down. It almost did put the full power down, you know. And Will, what a driver. He's like, yeah, he's fucking, man, let me tell you, he's crazy. So overall, the Golf ticked a lot of boxes for me. It made all the right sounds. It felt fast from inside the cabin. It was obviously a fast car. You know, it had the drama, the bit of spinning up at the front. It handled well. It's a nice looking car as well. And as I say, you know, if you're into driving, it will satisfy you from a driving perspective. So yeah, definitely my 9th favourite car on Living Life Fast. So my 8th fastest car on Living Life Fast has to be the blue E46 M3. Let me tell you, this E46 M3 felt like one of the best handled cars I've ever driven. So focused and so razor sharp from the steering wheel. It didn't have many power mods. I think it was running 370, 375 horsepower. It was running a full set of coilovers. It was running a big brake kit, lightweight Apex alloys if I remember. I'm sure he was running semi-slick tyres as well, possibly bucket seats, but you know, the overall package, it was really clean. It didn't look too cheesy. It didn't look like a proper tuner car, you know. It still kept that E46 M3 look. But let me tell you, I didn't really get to drive the hell out of that car because I think he's one of them guys that are on forums, pretty respected. So we didn't want to go silly with the car. But the little experience I did get in that car, the handling, trust me, I've not felt many cars like it. It was genuinely like a little go-kart. And imagine it wasn't stripped or anything, but it felt so light. I've driven Satch's silver E46 M3, which was running KW coilovers, the CSL wheels. I think it had some, oh yeah, buckets actually in that as well. I also drove a stock E46 M3, but this blue one was on another level. And I've not included it as my 8th favourite car for no reason. You know, if I was able to drive the hell out of it and really get a feel for what it was like, I could be saying something different right now. It could even be positioned higher. All I can say is if someone's after a reasonably priced, super capable track car, that is the vehicle. On top of that, it was so compliant with the public road. So I took that car where I take all the other cars and that car wasn't crashing. It was just so smooth over normal roads. And you can imagine on track, it's going to be an absolute weapon. So yeah, definitely my 8th favourite car on Living Life Fast. So my 7th favourite car on Living Life Fast has to be Big Dre's BMW M2. I'd say this M2 reminded me of a modern version of the E46 M3. I would personally say the E46 M3 felt sharper, but the difference being the M2, I actually got to drive the hell out of it. What a capable car. I mean, a BMW M2 is basically the same as an M4, you know. It looks smaller, but it's roughly the same weight. Obviously, when you get into an M2, the dimensions are smaller, so you can kind of drive them a little harder. You can see out of them a bit more than an M4. But the reason I've positioned this car in 7th place is because of the KW V3s it was running. He was running some big ass 19 or 20 inch wheels, but all he had was the KW V3s, and he had it on the hardest setting. And let me tell you, it was a complete transformation from any M2 I've driven. And in fact, Big Dre's M2 is the inspiration for why I chose KW V3s for my M4. The handling and how much sharper it felt. And we know M cars are some of the most razor sharp cars you can buy from factory, and to actually improve on that, it was kind of jarring to feel it, you know. It just felt way more focused at higher speed. You know, I always say about M cars, they rev really, really high and they just get a bit crazy and out of control. With the suspension, it brought everything back down to reality, and the car felt a lot more Porsche-like, you know. I was able to push that car into corners, and there was no understeering, there was no oversteering. It just felt so capable. I mean, the M2s are pretty capable anyway, but I have pushed a few M2s pretty hard. I drove David's M2, which had the M Performance suspension. Obviously, I've been out in the yellow M2, but as I say, this M2 really driving it, it felt more capable than what I could push it to. Obviously on a public road. On track would obviously be different. I nearly forgot to say it was also stage 1 or stage 2 tuned, so it's running just over 400 horsepower. Not that the M2 feels that underpowered on a public road. I would say the M4, 444 horsepower, I feel that they're a little too fast for the public road, but his M2 combined with the suspension still felt like a very fun, and yeah, it just felt a little less powered than a stock M4, but yeah, you would run rings around a stock M4 in Dre's M2. And you got to remember, since then I've had the hybrid turbos done to my M4, you know, running around 700 horsepower, so I really did miss power that you can actually use whilst cornering. So yeah, Big Dre's M2, definitely my 7th favourite car on Living Life Fast. And on to my 6th favourite car on Living Life Fast has to be Arthur's 560 horsepower pure turbos M135i. Now let me tell you, Arthur's M135i was sick. It felt so fast in a straight line, but on top of that, it handled so well. Obviously the M135is, they're not, you know, quite an M car, you know, I think, as Joe would always say. And even myself, like, you know, if you push them 7 to 8 temps, they're okay. But when you start trying to push them a little bit further, they're not as good on the limit, you know. I mean, on the public road, you're not going to get to this extreme. But if you do drive it like an absolute asbo, they're not quite as good as a full-on M car. But let me tell you, Arthur's M135i, he was running lightweight wheels combined with the R888Rs with the pure turbo mods. Let me tell you, that was a recipe for perfection. So it applied 100% of its power to the tarmac, and as I say, on top of that, it was extremely fast. So, you know, it felt super turbocharged. You know, a lot of these modern turbocharged cars don't really feel that turbocharged. They're almost trying to give the illusion of a naturally aspirated car. Obviously it's got the ZF box, so the gear ratios are really close, and each time you pile on a gear, it's just power in your face. But I've got to say to you that I was so impressed with the way it drove and the way it was putting power down. Obviously it's running the R888Rs, but I remember the steering feel, it felt so amazing. And I'm sure it's got to be, once again, this lightweight wheel thing. Like, you know, it's something that I'm noticing when they're running lightweight wheels, it's transforming the way these cars feel. So his M135i, pushing it, like, it was just unbelievable. Like, his car felt so good. It's not me trying to lick Arthur's arse, you know, because it's Arthur. And I know some of you are probably thinking, but what about Tom's M240? Well, Tom's M240 wasn't putting the power down. It simply wasn't putting it down. And as you're probably getting an idea of my favourite types of cars, they are cars that are well balanced and put power down. And I can tell you that Arthur's M135i, obviously, you know, 140 horsepower less, put down power way better. But as I say, it was a very sunny day. So yeah, let's move on to the next car. This one's going to surprise you. My 5th favourite car on Living Life Fast has to be the green Renault Twingo. Guys, this is no joke. That Renault Twingo is one of the most exciting cars that I have driven. 300 horsepower, manual gearbox, what is it, around 1,000 kilos? The way it put power down in the wet, I think it had the rain sports. It was an unbelievably exciting car. It made all the right sounds. It had a small knock in the gearbox, but the gear shift was so smooth, perfect for heel and toe, perfect for rev matching. And yeah, man, highly rated that car. Was genuinely trying to buy that car off the owner. Like, it was that good. I don't even think he did a shitload. It just had the engine swap. But I'm sure that if I bought that car and sorted it out a bit, man, you've got a serious weapon. I'm telling you, a lot of you would absolutely love the drive in that car. Definitely not got it wrong. I highly rated that car, and as I say, I drove it in the wet. I can't even imagine what it'd be like on a dry day. Like, that car would be like an epic track car. So yeah, definitely my 5th favourite car on the channel. And my 4th favourite car on Living Life Fast has to go to Mudge, and it's R33 Skyline. Saying is, Mudge's R33 Skyline is just off the scale of how epic it was. Everything I love about cars is this: Rear wheel drive, 700 horsepower. I think he dynoed it recently and it was around the 700 horsepower mark as well. It was predictable, controllable, and when I jumped in it, I felt like I was playing a game, like I knew all the moves. I was doing 180 slides in it, and the steering, it was just so light, and you know, it didn't require much correction when the back came out. It wasn't grip, 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 and then snap. It was just real progressive with the way it broke traction. It just made me feel like an amazing driver. And I would 100% put it down more to the car. It wasn't my driving ability, it was the car. The car was just epic. It was like a drift setup car, fully stripped. And my God, like I've already messaged him saying, please, can I do a round two? Like I want a round two on that car. And I'm telling you, at speed, in a corner, if you let off the throttle, that car stepped out, and it was just, it's just crazy. You're doing stuff that you didn't even know you could do in a car, like, and that is the sign of an epic car. You know, I'm getting excited even thinking about it, man. I'm telling you, I entered heaven whilst driving that car. There is not many cars that provide me with those types of experiences. So yeah, definitely the fourth favourite car in Living Life Fast. And on to my third favourite car in Living Life Fast has to be the Porsche 991.2 GT3. GT3, I think it's no secret that this is my dream car, and what an experience. I think the video speaks for itself. The owner was an absolute psychopath. I wouldn't say he was dangerous, you know, it was really sunny, open roads, there was no cars around, you know, we had the Michelin Cup 2 tyres, the car was so planted, there was no hint of oversteer, and I would say the GT3 lived up to my expectations. It was such a capable, don't get me wrong, like, the owner was really driving this car, and he was exposing it ever so slightly, and it made me start to think that maybe the GT3 RS is the ultimate version. Obviously I think there's going to be a bit of a compromise. It's not going to be as good daily driver, the GT3 RS, but the GT3 felt, as only slightly, just felt ever so slightly soft, like almost like there was just a little bit of movement. But let me tell you, on a public road, it's going to be very difficult to get to this kind of extreme. On a track, I think the RS would probably be needed. But let me tell you, this car, man, like, look at, I've got to play a bit of the video for you to see now. But the engine sound combined with the accuracy of the steering, unbelievable. When I drove it, like, it's got an electronic steering rack, so yeah, it didn't feel as natural as even some of the previous Carreras I've driven. I've been out in 997s, 996s, and every single Porsche I've ever been out in, they're just like, they're so hard to make them slip from the rear. Of course you can provoke them, but I've driven Carrera 4Ss, the 991 in the wet at full speed, and you just can't make them break traction. Like, you can really hold them on the limit. If you're into driving, a Porsche GT3 should definitely be in your list of cars to own. You know, obviously they're really expensive cars, but yeah, Porsche 911 GT3, easily my third favourite car on Living Life Fast. So my second favourite car on Living Life Fast has to be the black 630 horsepower Mitsubishi Evo 6. So yeah, the black Evo 6, 100% one of the most epic cars I've been out in and driven personally. I've always been a fan of the Evos. You're talking from Gran Turismo days, Need for Speed days. You're talking, what was that Japanese car show where the Evos used to wipe out everyone? Even friends that have owned them, everyone's just said how epic they are around back lanes. And to finally get out in one was definitely a massive treat for me. Guys, it's crazy to think this car is 20 years old and it is as capable as, I'd say, anything of the modern era. Like, you're talking, I can put my life in it that if an R35 GTi was in front, you could not get away from an Evo 6. Not that black one. All of the Evos I've been out in, the Evo 8s, 9s, the other Silver 6 I went out in, they're all as capable as each other. I'm going to try to explain to you what makes the Evo so special. So usually when you get out in, like, you know, I'm used to German four-wheel drive cars like Golfs and, you know, RS3s and RS6s and 4s, and The difference with these cars is, you know, like they're normally a little front heavy, so like as you throw them into corners you do get a bit of understeer, and you normally get a bit of torque steer with some of these cars as well. Every Evo I've been out in, they stay arrow straight under acceleration. You're not fighting any type of torque steer. And you know, when you throw it into corners, there's no understeering. I just feel that the Evos all seem to have the same kind of turning that you'd get from like an M3, but then you've obviously got the four-wheel drive system of like an Audi, for example, yeah? So as you're accelerating around corners, you feel safe because you know the car's fully planted to the road, but that front end feels so willing to turn, like as if there's no power going through the front wheels. It makes for such a capable car, and once you start to travel at speed in an Evo, it's so in control of itself, you know what I mean? I've been out in plenty of them now. Obviously some of them highly modded, some of them not so modded, but each single Evo I've been out in, on the limit, they're so easy to drive. I would definitely say the Evo makes you a better driver, similar to what I was saying about the Skyline. I wouldn't even put them in the same category, but the Evos, yeah, they're just an easy car to drive, but they're so exciting and so fun. And I can tell you, for the age of it, definitely up there as one of the best handling cars ever. I remember pulling up, my hands were just shaking, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I sit down like, oh fuck, did I take the piss on that video? Like, obviously I make calculated decisions, like the owner was proper driving his car, so I did kind of, you know, get permission, but maybe, I'm not sure, did I drive it too hard? But all I can say is that he gave me the full Evolution experience, and I'll never ever forget that. That's why it's my second favourite car on this channel. And on to my favourite car on Living Life Fast, it has to be Abs' turbocharged Mark V R32. So most of you probably already guessed it anyway, Abs' R32 without fail is my favourite car on Living Life Fast, and what an unbelievable vehicle. You know, sometimes I sit there and think, you know, back then I hadn't been out in many powerful cars, but I can vouch and tell you for a fact that that R32 felt faster from inside the cabin than even that 1100 horsepower GTR. What a machine. I mean, it's almost like power came on from like 1000 RPM each time the gear changed. The gear change themselves was so aggressive, but every gear change, power came on as strong as it did in first gear. Like crazy. Obviously it had the screamer pipe, and as I say, from the cabin, like the sensation of speed was just unreal. And you know what I'd mainly put that down to? Like, Abs' R32 wasn't the most modified. It had an insane engine, but it only had some basic coilovers. I think it did have a brake upgrade. Under acceleration, it was like a bit soft. It was lifting from the front, and you know, as I'm taking corners, I can feel the arches rubbing. And I think these are all contributing factors to why that car felt as fast as it did. Because what I've now found out is, after doing 398 videos, is that the more chassis modifications you do to your car, the more tamed, the more controlled your power is going to be. So you're going to start losing that speed factor. Of course, numbers wise, you're going to produce faster times, but even my M4, you know, like at lower gears it feels a bit crazy because it's rear wheel drive, but it's such a controlled experience, especially with all its modifications. You know, the turbo setup was definitely very aggressive, and as we all know, you know, it's not always about having a perfect car. You know, we want a car to have a few negatives. It brings a bit of character, and that car had shitloads of character. So Abs' R32, I'm trying to think anything else to say about it. I remember at the end, I think when I pulled up, like I was in dreamland. I'm thinking about doing like a video 10 times I entered heaven. Like the R32, I was entering heaven. Like, I'm telling you, at the end of the video, I'm sure I was saying, please sell it to me, or yeah, it was one of them cars that I just wanted to own. So Abs' R32, definitely an epic vehicle. I'm sure he may have sold it, or he sold the engine. But Abs, if you're watching, you had a very special car there, and it's easily my favourite car on Living Life Fast. Congratulations. So guys, I'm going to end the video there. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and any other suggestions if you are enjoying these videos, then yeah, let me know below. Just quickly read out a few other cars that didn't make the list. So the supercharged V10 M5, the sound of that was unbelievable. Even the straight piped manual R8, that was an unbelievable experience. The diesel Ashtavan, very underrated car. The black Audi S3, the 544 horsepower one. Even the RS3 Saloon, the facelift one I took out, surprised me a lot. Completely changed my mindset on the RS3. 675 LT, and yeah, there's loads of more cars. The Nitrous ST, the Silver Supra, I like that a lot as well. So yeah, let me know below if you want to see any more of these videos, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.